Welcome back, team, to another Team Talima video. This is going to be a little bit of a quick and dirty edit. Hopefully that'll be okay with you. I wanted to make an extra video this week because I finally made it through the first project of our Udacity React Developer course. Completed the project, submitted it, and got back my review. It was a pretty awesome review, but even if it wasn't, I still wanted to show you guys one of the main reasons I was so excited to take this course. Not only is it project-based, but once you finish each project, you get to submit it and get an official review back from a Udacity. I think they're just called reviewers. There's no signature or anything on mine, so I have no idea who the awesome individual was who reviewed our code and gave me feedback and suggestions on it, but I am very impressed with the review I got back. I was very happy with the level of detailed information, the suggestions, which I have not gone through all the links he mentioned. I have not read about all the techniques or just topics he brought up that I might want to look into that I can use to further improve my code for this particular project, but hopefully well into the future as well. But I plan to because I'm very excited about it. I just wanted to take some time to make this extra video and go through it with you guys in case you are also considering a Udacity Nanodegree. It's one of my favorite aspects of the program. Okay, so jumping right through it, he says, "Hi, amazing work." Yes, because we're awesome. And your code looks great and clean. I asked some specific questions in my review. I'll show that to you briefly here under the History tab. This is what I asked for. This is what I wrote when submitting my project. I had some specific questions. Mostly, I want to make sure that I'm building the most efficient and performant applications I can with React. So when people use them, log in, whatever, open their web browser, go to our app. Hopefully it'll be not just an app, but an app game, because, game developers and all that jazz. I want it to run smoothly. I want it to run well. I want it to run quickly. I don't want anyone to be dragged down by the technology. I just want to focus on the game part. So I'm really trying to make sure our applications are efficient and very performant. I had some other questions. In React, composition is a big thing. Wanted to make sure I got my composition right. Wanted to make sure I wasn't doing any unnecessary rendering, because one, that would really drag down performance. And two, I noticed that at one point during the project I was, through some console log I had in there, I noticed a particular component was re-rendering more than it needed to. I think I fixed it all, but I wanted to ask that. I want to make sure my API calls were good. I feel still new to dealing with APIs. I want to learn more about them, about how to hook into them properly, make sure I'm using them the best way I can. Did I follow correct React best practices? That's another thing. Just as I'm learning it, I want to make sure I'm using the best practices possible. So those are my questions. He broke down my questions, my submission, and answered every one individually. So I was very happy about this. Composition is really well done. Love the way I broke down the application, so that's awesome. Eased my mind. Am I re-rendering anything unnecessarily, which I could prevent to improve performance? Rendering on state changes is the right way of doing it, and you have done very well, so that's good. With respect to performance, React already is performant in the way that components are being rendered. I am aware of this, and I'm not trying to be overly perfectionistic about it. Also with the composition model, if you want to explore some more performance aspects, you could necessarily explore some of the stacks, which will provide some additional benefits for performance apart from what React is already offering. I generally look at Jamstack with React, for example. So that's totally more in-depth of an answer than I even wanted back, and I totally plan to look into Jamstack, which I know nothing about. So that was awesome. API calls are good, yes. Yes, indeed. Do I follow correct React best practices? Will my project code be easy for another developer to follow? That's the other thing. Even as we work together on team projects like Beastie, and hopefully we will get back to Team Talima the game later in 2019. I'm very looking forward to that. I want to make sure other people can understand my code. So I wanted to ask that question. Yes, you have followed most of the best practices, and it's very easy to understand for any developer to follow. So I was happy to hear that. One thing that I would recommend you to explore most of the ES6 and Redux, which is further in the course. I'm actually studying that right now, so that's very cool so far. Features and adopt it. And also when you are working on building applications for an enterprise, explore creating a React component library for the developers to reuse your components. And then he links a reference to look into. I remember they talked about this in one of the first lessons of the class. or this class, whatever, talking about React component libraries for specific applications will actually build their own library of components to reuse and reuse. So this project, and nothing I've worked on so far, none of the exercises is anywhere near that size, but to keep that in mind, again, like I'm happy with this review and all the suggestions he's bringing up, because when we work on our projects, hopefully we'll have a React project or two, because I'm really enjoying using the library. We will definitely have a component library specific to any big projects we start. So, and then there was a checklist. So this is the project rubric, and I don't know if somebody misses a check mark, if they automatically fail the project, if you need all of them, if you only need a certain amount, but we got every single one, so I was very happy because I'm a perfectionist. Application setup was good. Main page was good, search was good, search page, routing was good, and code functionality was good. I must have checked like 3 times. After the project was all coded, I must have checked 3 times to make sure I didn't have like any errors going off, and luckily we didn't have any. I did not care for errors. And so that was the review. And then there's the code review. I didn't even know I was gonna get these 2 separate sections, but again, this is perfect. This is awesome. I freaking love this. So the most comments I have is in the app.js. So he breaks it down line by line. Here's a suggestion. It's a common practice between React developers to put import of static files below and import of external modules above. This helps the developer to see what is coming from a local file and what is an external module. In this case, the import for app.css would be the last import here. So if you look down here at line 5 and 6, I didn't have it as the last import. I put the new components that I created. Can you stop highlighting now? Thank you. The new components that I created for the project below what was automatically like started for me. They gave us starter files for this project. So they imported app.css, and I should have kept app.css at the bottom and put library and search above it, as I guess what he's saying there. So that is what I will do next time. I know enough to keep my libraries, like my external like npm packages and stuff, at the top, but I didn't know that CSS should come last. That's kind of what I'm taking away from this. So I'll put my components above any like CSS file next time. What does he say? Static files below. And then awesome, very well done without mutating the state. Happy with that. So this is like the handle select. There's a little select input. So when we do that, this function goes off on change. We have our state here to initialize it. We have update book. So here's this, a great handling of your app's loading state. I was very happy with that. I think he's talking about component did mount right here. And then update book, component did mount. The component lifecycle component did mount is the perfect method to place this kind of logic. Awesome work, that's good. I made sure I went back and reviewed my React lifecycle component lifecycle methods to make sure I was using the right ones. I think we did a good job. You have got this right about setting the state. I would also suggest you to look into a shortcut feature for ES6 for setting state. So there you go. Like I'm still learning my ES6 syntax. So note both the state variable name and the function variable name should be same if you want to use the shortcut notation. So we could do, what is he saying here? So set state books. In our state, we called it my books. So we could do like my books and then within this object, my books. I think that would work in this case. He just put books here as an example. I'm assuming that's correct. Awesome, you have used one of the cool features, object destruction assignment. Yeah, I really liked doing this because if you do this at the beginning of render is where I mostly use it. There were some other functions, I think we used it as well. If you do that, then reading through the meat of the code becomes so much easier instead of like this dot props dot function or this dot state dot whatever. I prefer the destructuring. It's pretty awesome. I like that. Good usage of React Router here. Once you got through React Router, there was a whole section of it under the React Fundamentals first section of the course, but it was very easy once you wrapped your head around it, which is really awesome because instead of, you can change pages based on the path, based on the URL, and then you can bookmark things, you can go backwards, you can go forwards, there's a whole, all the features you want to be able to use in a web browser, and it was pretty cool. So I really enjoyed learning that. I liked that module of the course. Suggestion, when dealing with pages, only of them is rendered each time. Only one of them is rendered each time. It's a good practice to place your routes inside a switch component. That way you can have more control of which is going to render. If you wish to freshen up on the subject, check out the docs right here. So I did not use a switch component. I don't remember seeing that in the course, and it just didn't dawn on me to use it for 2 pages in this project, but I will absolutely do that in the future because that's pretty awesome. And in the Redux section we just got finished, I just got finished going through, they use switch components for switching on, what is it, I think it's action type, the action type that you're going through. Anyway, I'll do a whole separate video on the Redux course notes I took, but it was very awesome. I just got done using the switch statement. Passing state between components, very well done, excellent, glad to see that. So that was it. That's it for our app.js. So that was this is like the root file, and then we have a library page, and then we also have the search page. So for the library page, we have awesome, I like this unique way of writing stateless functions. I tried to do that at the very end once the code was functioning properly. I went back and created as many stateless functions as I could, because throughout the React course, those were supposed to be like more performant or more, if it wasn't performant, it was like more clear, easier just to have a function that doesn't have to deal with state, easier to have components that are just presentational components. So I went back and did that wherever possible. And I guess the library counted. The library didn't have to manage any state of its own. And then we have, you could use map function here to apply the same logic for all 3 states so that redundancy could be avoided in the code. I don't know why I didn't think of that. We can just map over the 3 bookshelves, but I didn't at the time, and instead I just included 3 bookshelf components. Map would have been a little cleaner way to write it, so I'm glad you pointed that out. Awesome, great usage of prop types. I had to make sure I went back and included all the prop types in all the files. This makes your React applications much more reliable and speeds up your development by a whole lot, since you're both preventing runtime errors as well as skipping the need of writing lots of test files. I do enjoy the uses of prop types. So, over to search. There was only one here, I believe. I would recommend you to write this logic in a separate function rather than in a life cycle method. Beware of some of the common anti-patterns in React. I remember this one. This is the biggest thing that I wish I had not submitted in the project when you pointed this out, and I 100% agree. I went in the component did update lifecycle event, and I just have this whole meat of code, which I think the code itself is fine, and there's no errors, it works fine, but I shouldn't have all of this in this life cycle method. If I broke it down into a few more simple functions, I would have been happier with that. But I didn't think to do it at the time, and I'm glad you pointed it out. And we will definitely reread this. I've already read one article that was included in the course as like an extracurricular reading for anti-patterns, and I only remember maybe 3, not very many, and there was 7 listed, so I definitely will go back and reread it. This one, and I don't even know if it's the same one. I know some links in the course have been to Codeburst, but we'll see. We'll find out. And I think that's the only point he brought out in this file, and then we have the test. We didn't do any testing for this project. One of the best ways to improve your application is to add test to it, or better yet, develop it based on tests. Often overlooked in the front-end world. However, React applications make it a breeze with awesome libraries like Jest and Enzyme. If you're interested in diving into this topic and leveling up your development skills, I'd recommend you start by checking out this guide. I definitely want to get more into testing. I don't know if I necessarily want to go all the way test-driven development. I've heard pros and cons from various programmers who I respect and value the opinion of, but I want to learn and be comfortable with writing tests for my applications, and this was not required in this project. I didn't create this file, it was just one of the starter files, so it's not something I did in this project. But again, I'm glad you pointed it out, and he linked me resources. That's what I really like about this review. They linked extra resources, so I didn't just get the review, but I can actually continue reading. Nothing else he commented on. So that was the whole of my Udacity review. I was really excited to get it back, and I want to show off the app just so you guys kind of have an idea of what's happening here real fast. I had to bring it up and launch it on my local host, but here it is. My Reads is a book tracking app. So we have 3 bookshelves: currently reading, want to read, and read, and this is our main page / library page. And then you can move things around if you want. You can go to want to read, appears down here, back up to currently reading. I put a bunch of like techie stuff and like development stuff up here, and then I put some like travel stuff in a drawing book where I would like to, as a hobby, you know, get into some things, and then these are books I've actually read in my life, so that's pretty cool. You can go click this button to access the search page, and we get this handy dandy input bar. The search terms are predefined for this project in connecting to like the Udacity book API, and there aren't that many. I think maybe there's 4 dozen, maybe like 5 or 6 dozen. So that doesn't bring up like a terrible amount of books, but there's 20 per page, so we can type in journey, I know is one that I used. You can do time, you can do travel, you can do, I don't know what H will pop up, horror, of course. I wonder if we'll get something else. History and horror. So I don't, it's like the opposite of alphabetical. It's like reverse alphabetical, because if you do H, you'll get all the H-O. You'll get the first H-O keyword, like going backwards, like up the alphabet, but then if you put H-I, then they'll all change to history books. And then I really like A, because you get Android stuff, and then you can go to R and get artificial intelligence stuff, and yeah, it's pretty cool. But what you can do is you can come down here, and you can put want to read. The books that I don't have on our list are going to start on none, like that's their initial value, but the books that are in our library will start on the shelf that they're on. So that was like one of the requirements of the project, and that's cool. It was easy enough. And then you see that here, and then we can move to none, and it disappears again, and it's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. No bugs, no errors that I know of, and my reviewer did not point any out, so you know, I'm happy with how things turned out. But that was just a quick little project review I wanted to share with you guys. We will be posting the next video about Redux. So we're finally into the part 2 of the course, and I'm enjoying it so far. I just finished the first lesson of 7 of 8. I don't know, there's either like 7 or 8 lessons before you can begin project 2. Or before you should begin project 2. I guess you can do it anytime, but if you don't know Redux, you probably shouldn't begin it yet. So anyway, I'm enjoying everything, and thanks for tuning in, and hopefully you liked the project. And this is available on Team Talima's GitHub, so if you want to look at the full code for yourself and mess around with it and add new features, there was one thing I added, which was not part of the project. If you click on the cover of a book, I have it link to freaking Google Preview, so you can actually, read a little bit about the book that you can see in the app. So I liked that. There was other suggestions. Somebody in the course suggested that you could add like a rating system to rate each book. I just didn't take the time to do that. I wanted to initially, but then it was taking me so long to get the project. I wanted to move on to the Redux. And then there was another thing I'm trying to think of. Oh, to bulk move books. So adding like a feature to, I guess, like multi-select books and like bulk move them to a shelf. I'm not even 100% sure how that would work, like code-wise. I guess it depends on the exact functionality you want. But I'm gonna tune out now, and I'll see you next time, guys. Thanks for watching. Peace out, team.